Well, hello and welcome to this edition of the Lynne Hayes Freeland Show. Glad to have you with us. So, everybody has like their favorite time of year. For some people, it's Halloween. For some people, it's Thanksgiving. It's Christmas. It's a holiday. I feel like it's going to be a holiday next weekend right here in the city of Pittsburgh. It is my favorite time of year, so to speak. Janis Burley Wilson from the August Wilson African American Cultural Center is here to talk about jazz. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I didn't know if I should introduce
as well.
I didn't know if I should introduce you as the August Wilson Center, Pittsburgh Jazz International, because you wear all these different hats.
Yes, it's all the same. It's all, we're all, lumped together at this point. I'm the president of the August Wilson Center, but I'm also the artistic director of the August Wilson Center and artistic director of both of the festivals that we have coming up this fall.
Awesome. So before we get to the festival, I'm going to make people wait for this. Let's talk about what the last 18 months has been like for you. I want to say the last time you were on the show, we were talking about Nikki Giovanni. And was that a virtual event? Or did we just do it virtually?
That was a virtual event, but we did it for the year before in person.
Okay.
Poetry, our Poetry Unplugged event, and she was the featured poet. We were talking about that, but yeah, it's just been a really blur because it seems like the time has flown by, but yet we've been all in on this virtual thing. It seems like we've been doing it for a really long time now, even though the time has flown by, if that makes sense. Closed our doors just like everybody else. I think it was March 16th, 2020.
Let me stop you right there for just a second. So you closed your doors in March 2020. Were you like everyone else who thought this will be a couple weeks and everything will be back to normal?
We thought it would be a couple months. We thought we would be back in person in June, because in June of 2020 would have been our 10th anniversary for the Jazz Festival.
Okay. All right.
So we thought, it's, they're going to close us down for a month or two, and then we will continue to plan for this big party, this big festival that but we figured out that wasn't going to happen. And then we quickly transitioned to a virtual jazz festival.
Right.
First to do that.
I remember that. Yes.
No experience. No, we didn't know anything about virtual programming. We don't have a full-time IT person, so we really were making it up as we went along. We got lucky because we had some really great virtual programs that came out of the pandemic, but we didn't really know what we were doing. We have some really smart, dynamic people that work at the center that figured it out. I personally didn't want to cancel the Jazz Festival. I was holding on for dear life. Like, maybe we a little something. And my staff was like, no, we're not doing it.
Let this go.
Yeah. So we let it go, and I let it go, and it was wonderful. For the first time out, and we've been closed since then. But we quickly transitioned to virtual programming, and I really was I was very careful about not just throwing something together, just throwing something out there on the internet, just so that we could talk and be seen and say something. We created meaningful programming that was connected to what we do in the building, right? Started a series called Lit Fridays, Literature Fridays. And that's a monthly program with our exceptionally talented literary curator, Jessica Lynne. She's a poet. She's a librettist. She's just phenomenal scholar. And she leads these really kind of in-depth, thought-provoking conversations every month with artists, with writers, with just different people that work in arts and culture. And we're continuing to do that, even though we're trying to get back into the building to do our programming. Some of the programming that we're doing, we're going to continue because it was great. It took our brand beyond Pittsburgh. People from all over the world watching. People from all over the world watched the Jazz Festival and the Blues Festival. And so our brand is in 24 different countries because of the Jazz Festival.
Wow.
programming. We had 66,000 people that watched the Blues Festival. And that might not seem like a lot for someone that does this all the time, but for us, it's first time out, like they
Sure.
the wrong button. I mean, that we were like, it was like, dude, which the screen is looks funny as the screen. I mean, that was a lot for us.
Mm-hmm.
So we've learned a lot during that time. We learned a lot about what we can do, what's possible. You know, we had a very small staff, so we didn't have to lay anybody off.
Okay. All right.
We only had, at that time, I think we had maybe 13 full-time people, including myself.
Okay. All right.
So we needed all of us to kind of put our heads together to figure this out.
To get creative, sure.
Get creative, yeah.
Sure.
And people that have supported the festival have continued, not the festival, I'm sorry, the center, have continued to support the center during the pandemic. So we lost a lot of money, a lot of revenue opportunities like rentals, because obviously if our events are canceled, everybody else's event was canceled.
Right.
So we lost that. But what we gained with this time was just learning what we're capable of, learning what's possible, kind of thinking beyond what we've done and the way we've done it for the last however many years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was, I won't say it's been a good experience, but it's definitely been, there've been some positives.
Okay. Okay. So I want to talk, you have in-person stuff coming up. Before we get to that and before we take this commercial break, let's talk about once you are now programming again and you're having events, there's still this virus out, and you guys were kind of on the cutting edge, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe with some other organizations that really kind of set the bar, and you set the bar high in terms of safety.
Yeah, we were first to come out.
That's what I thought. Yeah,
we're requiring proof of vaccination for any events in the building. Mm-hmm. The Jazz Festival, which isn't in the building, mm-hmm. It's going to be held at the Highmark Stadium and the Benedum Center, mm-hmm. Requiring proof of vaccination. And inside the Benedum Center, we are requiring masks worn at all times.
Okay, all right.
And as you said, it's a pandemic. It's a plague, right? And mm-hmm. I mean, if 700,000 plus people dying doesn't convince people that it's real, I don't know what to tell you. But mm-hmm. the way we're going to do things, the way it works at the center is we are requiring proof of vaccination.
And so then real quick, we'll take a commercial break in 1 second. So does that mean when we come back, we are going to talk about the Jazz Festival and then the Blues Festival. People will need to show their cards when they come in. They'll need to do that when they buy tickets, or how's that going to work?
We're working with a company called CrowdPass, which is an app. And as soon as you buy a ticket, you receive an email from CrowdPass that allows you to upload your vaccination information. So your name, your birth date, the type of vaccine that you've received, and the dates. And then there's a HIPAA compliant system that checks all of that to make sure you didn't get a free, buy one off on the internet. Right. Mm-hmm. I read that someone put on their, in CrowdPass, they wrote that, they got the shot in their arm or in their upper arm. So obviously that was a red flag that they weren't telling the truth. Yeah. You can't figure out the technology, which a lot of people might not be able to do. You can show your vaccination card and your photo ID. Okay. All right. So that out of the way. Really hard, but there you go. We're going to make sure everybody's safe. We're going to do whatever we can to keep our staff, our audience, and the artists safe. There you go. All right. Yeah. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, I know you all are on the edge of your chairs. You want to know who's coming if you don't know already. We'll talk about that next when the Lynne Hayes Freeland Show continues. Don't go away.